Chio, good afternoon. I'm Chris McCoy. I'm here with Chief Sneed. Chief Sneed, the economy right now, there's a lot of, as the unemployment rate reaches almost 10%, there's a lot of things happening around the country that are forcing families and workers to kind of take some different approaches to how they budget their money and how much pay they're actually receiving. What kind of adjustments are we making here with the tribe that you wanted to talk about today?
Well, thanks, Chris. I wanted to, you see I've got...
I see, you got your poker chips out today.
So I wanted to do a visual. I was an educator for years, and as you know, most people are visual learners. So a lot of times, we have conversations and we use words like revenue and expenditure and balance sheets and spreadsheets and all this. So I wanted to just do a real simple visual.
Okay.
First, I want to talk about our tribal budget and where our money comes from, and then I wanted to talk about specifically about our employee pay.
Okay.
So when we talk about our budget first. So how it works for us, we have several sources of revenue. First and foremost, of course, our largest is gaming.
Right.
Then we have grants. We get quite a bit of money in grants every year. And then we have tribal levy and excise tax, privilege tax.
Right.
Those are also sources of revenue that we have. So but what I don't think most people understand is we create a budget for the tribe, but that budget is based on a projection.
Okay.
So Harrah's, Caesars, the casino, will give us a number at the beginning of the budget cycle, and they tell us that, they say, we project that for the next fiscal year, we will produce X number of dollars.
Right.
And then as a tribal government, we base our budget on that projection.
Okay.
So it's not that like they just hand us...
It's not a whole number that's an actual
Correct.
number. Okay.
So what we wanted to do is we want to use these poker chips just as an aid for people to understand how that happens.
Okay.
So we'll say this money over here represents the monthly distribution, because that money comes over every month from the casino. And then this money over here, we'll say, represents what we have cash on hand at the tribe because of our very fiscally conservative approach to budgeting over the last 3 years.
Okay.
So we're very proud of the fact that my first year in office, that projection, that number, we only budgeted 88%, which I felt was too high, but we had a very short period of time to create the budget. Now, historically, there have been years in the past where the tribe would budget 100% of that projection. So if the casino said this is the number, the tribe would create a budget that was 100%
based on that number.
Wow. So I personally don't believe that's being fiscally responsible.
Right.
So my first year we were at 88%. My second year in office we came in at 82%. Fiscal year 20 we're at 80% of projection. We're doing the budget for 21 now, which is going to be completely up in the air because we don't know what that projection is going to be now yet. We're doing everything we can to be very responsible so that we can build up our savings. Much like as an individual, you want to take a little bit of your paycheck every pay period and save it, okay?
Okay.
So what happens every month, we'll say this is the casino money. Every month, the casino sends over more money, okay? That's not happening right now.
Right, there's no money at the casino coming in because
That's correct.
It's closed.
It's closed. Okay. What would happen every month is money would come over every month, and this would continue to build up, and we would fund tribal programs out of that. The hospital gets a distribution, school gets a distribution, but right now there's no money coming in.
Okay.
So essentially, I'm going to take this back. So essentially, what we have on hand is what we have to spend.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. So as you mentioned at the outset, 17 million unemployed Americans right now, 10% of the population. I saw this morning where Disney's laying off an additional 33,000 people.
Wow.
It's going to bring the number, I think, to 77,000 people. And the only thing that they're going to continue to pay, I think, is their health care benefit, which is great, and it's very noble that they're doing that. So, but let's talk about you as an employee. You're a tribal employee. So let's pretend, just for the sake of this demonstration, that the tribe's not shut down.
Okay.
Okay. What do you, as a tribal employee, what do you have to do to get a paycheck?
So I come in and I work 80 hours and I get a paycheck.
Okay. So here's a check. It's a little check, but
well, thank you.
But we'll say that you worked your 80 hours and you're going to get your check.
All right.
Okay. So there's your paycheck. Now, in addition to your paycheck, you get benefits.
Right.
So you have a health care benefit that the tribe pays. You have a life insurance benefit. You have 401k. And a pension. So this blue chip is going to represent that.
Okay.
So there's real cash value attached to that, because it costs the tribe.
It's an expense of the
It's
tribe.
an expense. The
Okay.
tribe has to pay that. The other thing that you've earned,
Right.
is leave. Now we're going to do this. We're going to say that the red chip represents 4 hours of sick leave.
Okay.
Okay. So you've earned that because you've worked 80 hours, and the green represents your annual leave, which
Okay.
you've also earned because you worked.
Awesome.
And for the sake of our demonstration, we're going to say that because you worked for the tribe for a few years, that you've got 16 hours of annual leave saved,
All right.
and you've got 16 hours of sick leave saved.
Perfect.
That's in your bank.
Okay.
So go ahead and take your pay and,
Awesome.
take
Thank you.
take your benefits and take your leave.
Bank sending that to the IRS.
There you go. So now the tribe shuts down. The casino shuts down. We've already said there's no new revenue coming in over here.
Right.
There's no new monies coming over from the casino. Okay, we're going to get probably one more distribution. It will be for the month of February.
Okay.
It will be about a 10% of what normally comes over is the last payment we're going to get
Wow.
from the casino. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say here it is. We'll say this is 10% of what normally
we normally
comes
get.
over.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So when we close the tribe down, we said we're going to continue to pay our employees. Well, how do we do that? Because you've already stated correctly
Right.
that in order to get paid, you got to come
You
to
have to
work for
produce
8
work.
hours. So we granted emergency administrative leave.
Okay.
So each one of these chips, these white chips with the blue stripes, this is admin leave.
Okay.
Okay. Each one of these is 4 hours. So there's 10 there and 10 there. So that represents 40 hours, 80 hours.
Okay.
Okay. What did you have to do to get that?
Well, I stayed home and stayed safe and practiced
Right.
social distancing and during this pandemic here and followed the orders.
Okay. Did you have to come to work for that?
I did not come to work
Right.
for that.
So that's essentially, it's free.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we said earlier with your sick leave and your annual leave, was that a gift or did you earn that?
I came to work. You earned the 4 hours of sick and
Okay.
annual.
So with
Sometimes
this-
more.
Sometimes more. If you
Right.
worked here longer, you've got seniority. If you're a vet, you earn even more.
Okay.
Okay. So we've granted the 80 hours. That's 80 hours
Okay.
of administrative leave. But we're also giving you 4 hours of annual leave and 4 hours of sick leave, and we're still going to pay all of those benefits, your 401k, your pension, your life insurance, your health insurance, all of that. We're paying all of that.
Okay. So essentially, you're giving me the 80 hours of pay.
Yes.
And 8 hours of leave that I
Yes.
didn't earn.
Yes.
So 88 hours. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we've done that for the last pay period. We're going to do that for the next pay period. Now I didn't take that out of here, but it came out of here.
Okay.
Now at the same time we're doing that, okay, we still have to pay what's
you
called
got other bills.
overhead.
All right,
okay,
overhead.
the other bills. So what are the other bills? So we got to pay the power company. We got to pay Duke Power for all the
Buildings,
buildings that we
facilities.
have and things that are still open. We still have to pay the gas company. We still have to pay insurance on tribal vehicles. I mean, it's a pretty long list, and we've
Okay.
got contracts. We're still paying contractors to mow, so let's throw that in there too.
Okay, yeah.
So as you can see, we still have expenditures. We're still
Right.
making payments. This is still going down. What's not happening? There's nothing coming over from the casino to
Right.
replenish this.
Right.
Okay. So that's yours.
Okay.
We
So
gave that to
paid.
you. That's last pay period. That's
All
yours.
right. Thank you.
Okay, and we're doing the same thing for this pay period. Now, what we're proposing to do, because this just makes good common sense, is we want to try to preserve this as long as possible because we don't know how long we're going to have to stay shut down.
Right.
Now, initially, the modeling we were looking at, it was projected that next week, week 3 into week 4 of April, we would hit the peak of the surge, and then we would start on the downward
Right.
downward side of the bell curve. Well, because we're flattening the curve, now that surge is looking like it's going to be pushed out a couple weeks.
Gotcha.
So we're probably going to be closed longer than we had anticipated. So we're trying to stretch this out as long as possible. So here's what we've proposed now, and I want to illustrate this because I think it's being a little bit misrepresented that we're cutting the employee's pay. We're not.
Okay.
Okay. So here again is administrative leave. What did you have to do to get that?
Again, I'm staying at home. I'm practicing social distancing.
Essentially, it's free.
Right.
It's not costing you anything. You don't
Being
have to
paid by my employer.
That's correct.
Not having to produce work.
Correct. Okay. So what we're proposing is 85% of this leave, right? So if we take away 2 chips, that is, let me see. We need, how many of these do I need? 3.
We need 3 of them.
12 hours.
Right.
12 hours. So there's 68 hours of free leave.
Okay.
Okay. 12 hours represents, this is 85% of your normal pay.
Right.
12 hours, okay, we're not going to give you. However, we are going to give you 4 hours of annual leave, 4 hours of sick leave, and we're going to pay your benefits. And we're going to allow you to use that annual leave and that sick leave to make up the difference. So essentially, right now, you're short one chip.
Right.
You can either, if you come into work or you telework, if you come into work, you're getting paid double time. If you come in, if you're a frontline worker and you're working, you're getting paid double time. So you'll make that up anyway. If you telework, you can make up that
And
4 hours.
I do want to clarify, it's time and a half at that point, right?
It will be time and a half
Time
at
and a half
that point and not double time. Yeah, at that point, it will be time and a half.
Right.
Right now, it's still double time.
Right.
But you have leave bank.
Right, that you've been giving me for the last couple of
Well, you
paydays.
earned those.
I did earn.
And we did give you some.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I can work
right.
from home, telework through my manager and
Right.
earn those 4 hours.
Yes.
Or I can cash in some of my annual
Yep.
or sick leave to
And
make
get a
it
full
whole
paycheck.
check.
And you still get your benefits as well.
Okay. That sounds like a fair deal to me.
Yeah, and just again to offer perspective, I've talked to several other tribal leaders and to some of the division secretaries. I don't know that there's another employer in the state that is still paying their
Right.
employees in full.
Right.
At this point, I think if the business is closed, they furloughed, and I think that's why we see the really high numbers as far
Right.
as people going on unemployment. We want to stretch this out as long as possible,
Right.
so we don't ever get to the point where we have to say, we're going to have to furlough workers, you're going to have to go on
I
unemployment.
feel like we're very fortunate. There are a lot of people, as you're mentioning, that are just unemployed right now. And that when they do get some income, when they do file their unemployment piece, it's at 66%.
Correct.
Is really kind of the max on that.
Right. It's
That's-
2/3.
And we're not even looking at that realistically. If what you're saying is happening here, like we're seeing it, we're only short the 4 hours. It's
Yeah.
not even short. It's just the 4 hours we got to take out of our. We can work or we can take it out of our bank of annual
Right.
leave or sick leave.
Right. And so the other question that arose on that was, well, what about employees who don't have any leave saved up? Well, if you don't have any leave saved up, you're getting this 8 hours right here with your
Yeah.
paycheck that you can use. And if you don't have any saved up, we did analysis on that. There are only 5 employees out of 1,200 that
Right.
don't have any banked leave.
Okay.
So essentially still, you're short 2 hours a week at that point.
Okay.
But again, you didn't have to come to work or do
I was
anything.
going to say,
so-
we're counting this as part of that 68, and maybe we should just look at it more like a 76.
Correct.
8 hours is really coming in on that.
Sure.
So
It's 76 hours. Yeah,
essentially,
it's a good way to look
76
at it.
hours is what the tribe is still paying its employees,
Plus benefits.
plus benefits.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. People need to understand as well is that oftentimes when people go on unemployment, their employer stops paying benefits as well.
Right.
Some do continue to pay benefits. I mentioned Disney, and I saw in the article I read they are still paying their health benefits, which is great and very noble, and I'm glad they're doing that. But if you're just on unemployment, it's at 2/3 of your pay. You have to have savings, personal savings, to be able to make up that difference.
Right, and so if we relate it to real world, me myself, I'm having to adjust what I do at home with my spending. I can't continue to live at that 100% threshold
Correct.
that I had been because there are going to be some cutbacks, and it's the right thing to do, I think.
So essentially, the tribe is behaving in the same way, right? So as individuals have learned through this, we have to cut back on our spending
Right.
because we have less money coming in. If I'm a furloughed worker and now I'm only getting 2/3 of my pay, I
Right.
have to cut back my spending so that I don't burn through my savings that I'm
Right.
using to make up the difference. Tribe is just doing the same thing.
It's doing the same exact
Yeah.
thing.
So we
Okay.
just wanted to give some clarity.
It does. It's easy to understand, I think, when you can see that we're only talking really about the 2 hours per week,
Yeah.
the 4 hours total.
Yep.
And then there is an option to work that.
Yep.
And make that up. Okay, well, great. Well, as things change, hopefully we get back online quickly. Hopefully, this passes and people stay safe, and then we can get the economy going again and the casino can fire back up. I know it's not an immediate reaction, but let's hope that we can get back to where we can get back to normalcy around
Absolutely.
here, I'd say. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you,
for your
Chris.
help today in understanding this. If you're watching at home and you have any questions, please comment on the page here. We'll see you again very soon. Data Dog, how are you?